Hello everyone, this is Aaron Fitch from ATF Gaming and welcome back to the What Would Have Happened series. Today we are looking at what would have happened if the 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup Series used the current 2017-2018 playoff format. Let's get started. So, let's start with who would have qualified. We got Jeff Gordon with 5 wins leading the group, Dale Jarrett with 4, Tony Stewart with 3, Ricky Rudd with 2, and Kevin Harvick with 2. Now, if you remember, 2001 was the season that we lost Dale Earnhardt in the Daytona 500, and Kevin Harvick was the man who replaced him at Richard Childress Racing. Obviously, new number, new paint scheme. So he obviously missed the Daytona 500, so he would have needed a waiver to qualify for the playoff because you're required to run all the races. But obviously, considering the circumstances, we accept the waiver. He has 2 wins at Atlanta and Chicago, so he will be in the chase. Sterling Marlin, Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Rusty Wallace, Jeff Burton, Ward Burton, Elliott Sadler, Bobby Hamilton, and Michael Waltrip all have 1 win, clinching them into the playoffs. Obviously, some different names in there. Michael Waltrip won the Daytona 500, Bobby Hamilton won Talladega, and Elliott Sadler. You wouldn't really think about Elliott Sadler this far back, but he did win at Bristol, so he is in the chase. And Johnny Benson is the first driver, Lord in heaven, driver into the chase field. Now, here's where there was a little discrepancy. Steve Park won a race, but he was injured towards the end of the season. He only made 24 out of 26 starts, and he would have missed the start of the playoffs. So, with that in mind, I removed him from the playoff grid and inserted the next highest point finisher, which was Mark Martin. So we're putting Mark Martin and Steve Park out. I feel like that's the right decision as far as making sure all 16 drivers are still racing. I mean, that's the point of having the win and you get in and the you have to drive all the races rule. So that is why we took Steve Park out, Mark Martin in, and that is who has qualified for the 2001 playoffs. So, starting points, again, reminder, starting points are accumulated based on a few factors. 5 bonus points for every win you have in the regular season, and there are bonus points for how you finish in the regular season points. If you finish first in the regular season points, you get 15 bonus points, 10 for second, 8 for third, 7 for fourth, and so on down to 1 for 10th. And that is how we accumulated this. Another warning, we do have, we're using the current system, so the points are a little off from where we would be compared to real life points, because they would have accumulated over 3,000 points by now. But we're just resetting it to 2,000 because that's what they use now. We're not taking into account anybody else, so that's why we're resetting to 2,000. I know it's going to look a little weird if you compared it to the regular season real life points, but that's what we're going to use just for easiness of transition. So there are your starting points. Jeff Gordon on top, Mark Martin with no bonus points going in last. So round 1 is Dover, Kansas, and Charlotte this year. Dover, Dale Earnhardt Jr. won, locking himself into the next round. Ricky Rudd, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart with top 5s. Harvick, Sterling Marlin, and Bobby Hamilton with top 10s. Ward Burton and Michael Waltrip both crash. And Bobby Labonte finishes 36th. Obviously had some sort of issue. But that's Dover, Kansas. Jeff Gordon wins, locking himself into the next round. Ricky Rudd, another good finish. Rusty Wallace and Sterling Marlin with top 5s. Tony Stewart with a top 10. Jeff Burton 11th, and Bobby Hamilton 15th. But this race had a lot of issues for chase drivers, which is weird. You wouldn't think Kansas would be a track that has those kind of issues. But Bobby Labonte, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip, and Ward Burton all crashed out, in addition to Johnny Benson blowing an engine. So that is 6 chase drivers out of the 16 that did not finish the race. So not a good day for those guys. Moving on to Charlotte, Sterling Marlin wins at Charlotte, joining Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the next round as far as wins. Tony Stewart, Ward Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton top 5, Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace top 10s. Johnny Benson blows another engine, and Bobby Hamilton also had a bad day, finishing 31st. So, with all that in mind, here's what the points would have looked like at the end of round 1. Sterling Marlin, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in with wins. Tony Stewart, most points accumulated among non-winners. And when you look at the cutoff between 12th and 13th, it was separated by 1 point, which in the old points format is significant. 1 point differential, it was not heard of. It was not heard of because, usually the positions were separated by 5 or more points for each race. So when you're within 1 point, it's pretty darn close. So Bobby Labonte, gets into the next round by 1 point over Ward Burton. Elliott Sadler, Michael Waltrip, Johnny Benson also not doing too hot and getting eliminated after round 1. Elliott Sadler only 3 points behind, so all 3 of those guys were within 1 position, really, of making it into the next round. It's the equivalent of a one-point race now. Moving on to the next round, Marlin, Gordon, Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, Dale Jarrett, Mark Martin, Bobby Hamilton, and Bobby Labonte. Here are the points starting round 2. Obviously, Jeff Gordon, Earnhardt Jr., and Sterling Marlin got another 5 bonus points for another race win in round 1. So that's the points going into round 2. Round 2 this year is made up of Martinsville, Talladega, and Phoenix. So another round with a lot of variety. I like that, even though obviously they weren't thinking about it at this time. Martinsville, Ricky Craven, non-chase driver, wins, but Dale Jarrett was the highest playoff driver. Bobby Labonte and Jeff Burton also were top 5 in addition to Jarrett. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon and Sterling Marlin with top 10, Bobby Hamilton in 13th. Ricky Rudd and Tony Stewart both have mechanical issues and do not finish the race. Moving on to Talladega, Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins again, locking himself into the next round. Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, Bobby Hamilton, top 5. Good run for him again. He obviously won the first Talladega race, so he did well again there. Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin in top 10. Rusty Wallace 16th. Dale Jarrett, Ricky Rudd, and Kevin Harvick are your lowest playoff finishers, but all of the playoff drivers finished the race, so that is good considering it's Talladega. On to Phoenix elimination race for round 2. Jeff Burton won, locking himself into the next round. Ricky Rudd, Tony Stewart with top 5s. Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett top 10s. Bobby Labonte 12th. Rusty Wallace 15th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. blows an engine, so it's obviously very good that he won the race at Talladega. Sterling Marlin and Bobby Hamilton both have rough days and finish outside the top 30. So, with all that in mind, here are the final standings for round 2. Jeff Burton and Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the wins, and the cutoff line is separated by 14 points this time, with Rusty Wallace in, Bobby Hamilton out. Still, a really good run for Bobby Hamilton, considering he got in just based off of the wins he got at Talladega. So, moving on, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, and Rusty Wallace move on to round 3. Bobby Hamilton, Sterling Marlin, Ricky Rudd, and Kevin Harvick are all eliminated after round 2. So, round 3 points are as follows. Jeff Gordon still on top. Obviously, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Burton got more bonus points for the wins that they accumulated. So, round 3 is Rockingham, Homestead, Atlanta, all mile and a half. So this round did not have much variety. But at Rockingham, Joe Nemechek won. But Dale Jarrett, again, was the highest finishing playoff driver in 4th. Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte with top 10s. Not a good day for playoff drivers. Only 3 of the top 10 were in the were in the playoffs. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 15th, Jeff Burton 18th, Rusty Wallace 24th. Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin, rough days as well. At Homestead, another non-playoff driver winning the race, and Bill Elliott. Jeff Burton, 4th highest finishing playoff driver. Bobby Labonte, 8th, the only other playoff driver in the top 10. Rusty Wallace, 12th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 15th. Stewart and Martin, Gordon, all with top 30s, but Dale Jarrett, 41st. I misspelled there, 41st. I made the slideshow super quick, so I apologize if there's some issues here. But, so yeah, going into the last round, nobody's locked in yet. But at Atlanta, the elimination race of this round, Bobby Labonte won, locks himself into the next round. Jeff Gordon, 6th, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 7th, Jarrett, 8th, Stewart and Jeff Burton with top 10s, Rusty Wallace, 12th, and Mark Martin, the lowest playoff driver, in 22nd. So, with all that in mind, Bobby Labonte was the only one that had a win, so he obviously moves on, along with Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Dale Jarrett, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin all get eliminated. 41-point spread, so this was a fairly decisive spread compared to the previous 2 rounds. So, your final 4, Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and here are what they finish, where they finish, at Loudon. Now, Loudon was not meant to be the regular season finale. Loudon ended up falling on the weekend following 9/11, so they postponed the race, moved it to the end of the season out of respect to all who we lost at 9/11. 2001 was just a rough year in general, especially for NASCAR fans, losing quite possibly one of the most popular drivers in Dale Earnhardt, and then having 9/11 later on in the year. But New Hampshire, Loudon ended up being the final race, which I think is not a bad idea. Not a great idea, but not a bad idea. But Bobby Labonte ended up finishing 3rd, Tony Stewart 5th, Jeff Burton and Dale Earnhardt Jr. outside the top 15, so they were not a factor. So Bobby Labonte ends up winning the 2001 championship after losing his championship in 2000. So that is an interesting development. Here are what the final standings would have looked like for all 16 playoff drivers. Labonte, Stewart, Burton, Earnhardt, as we mentioned earlier. Sterling Marlin would have been the highest finishing non-Final Four driver. Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace, Kevin Harvick, Ricky Rudd round out top 10. Mark Martin 11th, Ward Burton 12th, Johnny Benson 13th, Bobby Hamilton 14th. Waltrip and Sadler round out the field. So now let's compare what happened in this version of 2001. The number's off. I apologize. 2001. It's 2001. Like I said, put the slideshow together really fast. So let's compare. Bobby Labonte ended up finishing 6th in real life, so he moved up 5 spots. Tony Stewart stayed where he was. Jeff Burton, I just combined. Jeff Burton moved up 7 spots from 10th to 3rd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. moved up 4. Jeff Gordon was the one who won this championship in real life, so he finished 6th after all that. Dale Jarrett stayed the same, it looks like. Rusty Wallace there. Harvick stayed the same. Elliott Sadler, obviously a good gainer. Michael Waltrip, big gainer. Hamilton, gainer as well. So that's the comparison. Now prepare your eyeballs for the white. Here's the white. So this is the chart that I used. All the numbers, how many points they got in each race, points at the start. Yellow highlights mean they won the race. Red highlights is when each driver got eliminated. And so that's all the stats. Obviously, if there's something wrong, be sure to point it out, but I think I did well. I spent a lot of time on this. Didn't spend a lot of time on the slideshow, but spent a lot of time on this. So I think all the stats at least are right, and we hopefully don't have any more issues. But that's going to be it for today, guys. I really hope you like this series. I really like doing this. It fascinates me going back in history and seeing what would have happened if if things had been a little different, if NASCAR decided to change things a little bit sooner, or a lot sooner actually. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content from ATF Gaming, be sure to hit that red subscribe button. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.